Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Divine Journey 2. In the last episode, we set up our crusher, and we also upgraded our power system by creating a fermenter and a squeezer to send plant oil and ethanol into our refinery to give us biodiesel, and then we finished off by building the diesel generator to generate us more power. However, to fuel these fermenters and squeezers, we need to expand our farming capabilities. So to start off today, I think we're going to use the soil that we got from Roots last time, the Aqueous Soil. And I think we'll plant canola as that can be used in the squeezer and the fermenter. So let's just get to building. Alright, so I got an area cleared out here for our farm. It's quite big, but I've made it 2 chunks wide. And as I mentioned, we're going to use Aqueous Soil as this will automatically harvest the crops. However, we do need a collection system, and I think at this stage of the game, we only have access to either minecarts or the gathering ritual. It would be nice to have this gathering ritual from Roots, but it's not very easy to automate as it does require us to input these items every 5 minutes, I think it is. 300 seconds, yeah. So I think we're going to go the minecart route, which is just completely passive. So I was just doing a little test here just to make sure that it did actually pick up the blocks one space above. Another thing is this Aqueous Soil doesn't actually pop off the wild route straight away. It has got a bit of a delay on it, which is why I've made the farm so large. But hopefully this size should be able to keep up with our diesel generator over there. So now we have to craft a whole lot more Aqueous Soil, and I don't know if I'll have the bones for this. As remember, this takes the elemental soil, which takes bone blocks for every 4. The terra moss and petals is basically free anyway. It's just basically the bone cost. Yeah, now that we've got a proof of concept, let's finish out this farm. Alright, so it's now been quite some time later and I got a bit carried away setting this thing up, but we have the first 2 fields here. The first one is for canola, and then I've also planted aubergine over here. So I changed the configuration on the rails underneath just slightly, and we have 2 separate hopper minecarts on their own loop. And then for each one, they run over a set of 3 hoppers, which all feed into the central one, which has a drawer controller there. And the recipe for the drawer controller is actually kind of expensive in this pack. It takes these potentiometers, which take the draconium we found in the nether, as well as some red alloy ingots, which is a fair amount of redstone actually. And using these redstone blocks actually used up a decent chunk of my redstone as well, so I did go mining again, just to get some more iron and coal as well. But if we find that we run out, since I think we're going to be building a bunch of machines next, if we run out, I'm going to swap all these out for levers underneath. That's just a lot more hassle. But yeah, the items are collected by the minecarts, go into the drawer controller, and the drawer controller has trims on there, and trim is basically like just drawer cabling. The trim then runs all the way underneath and connects to these 4 drawers here, where we have one for each of the items that get collected by the farm. So now we have to come up with a way to automatically insert into these squeezers and fermenters. And since we can't make item conduits yet, the item conduits take this conduit binder, which takes energized dark dust, which this takes refined fuel, and we don't quite have access to this yet. So to move the items, instead we're going to use item ducts from thermodynamics, but the recipe for these things requires enriched alloy, which requires us to get into Mekanism. So if we check our quest tab, the gate for Mekanism is this energized osmium ingot. And to make this, it's just osmium and the biodiesel that we were producing. So for now, I'm going to turn off the extract of this tank so it doesn't all go into the diesel generator. And we'll just manually fill in these fermenters and squeezers, just to get a little bit of biodiesel to craft with. So we're getting our ethanol plant oil, and we have our biodiesel filling up right here. We'll grab a few buckets of this to craft with, and we can make our energized osmium ingots. I think we'll need quite a bit of this stuff, so we should find a way to automate this, or at least probably use tanks. But that gives us our first pieces of ingots and unlocks the quest. We get some free osmium, and we're into the next chapter. So to start building all of our machines, we need a lot of steel, as I think most of the machines require the steel casing, which is steel rods, steel plates, and the energized osmium. Oh yeah, I should also mention that I changed the block palette that we're using here. So this is chalk blocks, which you can find in underground biomes, and this is basalt bricks from quark. These are usually found in large veins in the nether, so I just took my hammer and went to town in the nether to mine up a bunch of this stuff. But I found these bricks actually in structure and interactions, and I really wanted to use them for a base. But by that point I was so far into the pack that I couldn't really switch building materials on my base, so we're going to use them here from the beginning. I think these look amazing. And to get the rest of the bone that we needed for the aqueous soil, I went back and found those bone mushroom spores from the nether, which have a bunch of bone blocks next to those. So yeah, that is the building materials we're going to be using going forward. Pretty soon here, once we get Applied Energistics, I'm going to start building our main hub and storage area. Well, let's start crafting our mechanism machines. So I'm going to make some of these steel casings, maybe not 11 to start with. I think we'll do 8. Yeah, we still have a limited supply of steel. Alright, and we get some steel back. Next we need a metallurgic infuser. Quest gives us some nice item rewards, including 2 item ducts actually. We can use these for our biodiesel setup over there. Before we start placing machines, let's actually just take some time to expand our base out and plan out a little room for our mechanism. Alright, so we have a place to work. It's not much right now, but let's continue with the mechanism progression. So the first step for us to progress is to make these basic control circuits, which take some redstone and osmium ingots in the metallurgic infuser. Hold on. Yeah, we're kind of missing something crucial, which is power. So to get power over here, I want to start using HV wire, which isn't actually that expensive for the wire connector. However, for the relays, it does take this insulating glass, which we haven't made before. And this is steel blend, steel ingots, and lime glass. And there is a quest for it over here, so let's make up a batch of this stuff. I think for the steel blend at this point, we have to make in the crusher, so I'll have to run some steel through this. So I made up some more lime dye, ran some steel blend. Let's make some insulating glass, and yeah, not quite that much. There's our quest, and with this we'll make some of the relays for HV. And that's also another quest actually, which gives us, some free HV wire stuff. This opens up the multi-block for the engineer's work table, but I think we'll come back to this at a later stage. And for now I'm just going to hook up some relays to get power over to that room over there, and we'll hook up the other one on top of our diesel generator. Then we just have to connect up our wires. And then we'll need a connector over here. Does that work? Straight on the machine? No, it doesn't look like it does. Okay, I think we need a capacitor there. So how are we going to power this infuser? Can we move this and put our capacitor straight on there? Set this to output. And then put our wire on the capacitor. Oh, I just forgot to set this capacitor to output on the top. So now if we swap this to energy output, we are getting zapped, so that must mean there is energy flowing through here. Now are you powered? Yes, nice, okay. So yeah, to begin with we want to put in some redstone, and later on we can swap this out with enriched redstone, but we need another machine for that. But let's put in some osmium, and we get our basic control circuits. And we need 4 for the quest. Nice, gives us some redstone back. Next I want to make some of these enriched alloy, which is some more redstone in the infuser with some iron. So let's just swap this out. I think eventually we're going to have a number of these infusers. One for each, one for osmium, one for iron, one for steel. But there is our 4 enriched alloy for the quest. So from here that opens up several different options for us. I think first of all, let's grab these item ducts to be able to transfer the items into the refinery and squeezer. And then I think we'll look at building the rest of these mechanism machines. And the item ducts just use some of this enriched alloy and some glass. So they are fairly cheap at this point now. So to make this a little bit nicer, since I think we have to pipe in that slot there, and I'm assuming it's this one here, I'm going to move these drawers forward 1 block, and it's nice that they're automatically taped in this pack. Alright, so I got another 2 servos and hooked up our item ducts. This is going to automatically put in the aubergines and canola and their seeds into the different machines. And these things are super slow, but that's okay, it's all we've got for now I think. Oh, and it looks like we've run out of power for this as well. We may have to swap about our energy network, but I'm going to hold off on that for the time being. Next up, I would like to have a better way of making steel, which is going to require one of these metallurgic infusers. And rather than just putting redstone straight in this slot, we can make it actually more efficient by using the compressed redstone, which takes the enrichment chamber. And the recipe for this actually takes some crystal growth accelerators from 82, which is going to require some 82 crafting. And this actually also takes HOP. We should have some of this by now though. Let's see, what are the recipes like for 82? Okay, it looks like standard stuff. I think we just throw some nether quartz through the crusher. Yeah. So to be able to craft the flux crystals that we need for applied energistics materials, we have to use redstone, nether quartz, and charged certus. This charged certus we do get from ores, but it's very rare. So instead we have to charge our regular certus quartz. And for that we need a charger, which takes the energized certus quartz, which I think is also the gate for applied energistics. And now we can make our charger. And these things are kind of a nightmare to work with, but because they are very sided, But we've also run out of power, which means we have to run our diesel generator a bit more. So let's turn this back on. I did also put a switch on this because it does waste fuel. But that charged up the charger, and we can charge our Certus quartz. No comment here. Yeah, that's not the first time that's happened. We need to be careful around electricity. I made up a batch of charged Certus. All we have to do is throw this in water with some redstone and nether quartz. And we get our flukes. So I think I got all the stuff we need for our enrichment chamber. We're going to need some glass cable, some energized Certus blocks, and we can make our crystal growth accelerators. And with those we can make our enrichment chamber. Again, I think we're going to have more than one of these things. And to more easily transfer the power throughout that room over there, I'm going to switch out to using basic universal cables, rather than getting zapped with the wires. And now that we have the enrichment chamber, we can use charcoal, which I've switched out to using an auto smelt axe for this. And we can put the charcoal into the enrichment chamber, and then we'll also set the output on the right hand side, turn on auto eject, and then on the infuser we can set the side to input the infuse on the left hand side. And this is going to give us carbon in the infusing slot and infuse it into iron to give us enriched iron. And then this we have to put in another metallurgic infuser to make steel blend, and this we can smelt. Alright, so with all that, I've taken some time and upgraded our machines. This first setup here is for making steel. So the first step, as you've seen, was to make the compressed carbon from charcoal. This is coming from this enrichment chamber, which gets output on the bottom and split between these two metallurgic infusers. This first chest is for input for coal, which goes into the enrichment chamber. The second chest inputs iron ingots, which I am now completely out of. I think I've got no more iron left, so I'm going to have to go mining after this. But the iron gets put in this first infuser and makes enriched iron, which then gets passed to the next infuser, where it gets mixed with more carbon to make steel blend, which is then smelted in this energized smelter and put in the drawer above it. And then once we unlock applied energistics, we're going to swap out these two chests with some interfaces, and this is going to give us some passive steel production. This also means that we don't have to rely on this blast furnace anymore, and I think it's actually going to be less power. Yeah, I think this is actually more power efficient than using these two preheaters, so we're going to tear this thing down. But the second setup here is just another enrichment chamber for redstone, and this we're going to use just manually for now to make the control circuits and enriched alloy. And then yeah, we're also using this basic universal cable, as it's just a bit easier than putting connectors on each one of these machines. But it is connected to one of these HV capacitors, which we're powering with our diesel gen over there. Which I have turned off right now because we have quite a big buffer of energy in both of the capacitors, right? Since there's one here and one over next to the machines. But we will have to look at a way to automatically turn this thing on and off whenever we require some power. So I'm not sure if we can actually read comparator signals from portable tanks, because it would be quite nice to be able to detect how much biodiesel we have, and if there's sufficient amounts then turn on the diesel generator. But if that doesn't work, then maybe we'll build some tanks, as I think the immersive engineering tanks do emit redstone. So we'll figure something out for that, but for now I'm just going to turn it on and off manually. And yeah, these machines right now are just the basic versions, however we can upgrade these machines to factory tiers. If we look at, for example, the smelting factory, this is the upgraded version of the smelter, which I think allows 3 operations in parallel, and then the advanced one is 5, and then the elite I think is 7 operations in parallel. But these things are not cheap, and yeah, again, we're out of iron completely, so I think I'm going to tidy up a bit and go mining for some more iron for us to progress. So we got a decent little haul here. I was mostly looking for iron, but again, picked up quite a lot of coal. Not quite as much redstone as I would have liked though, but I think for now we've got enough for us to move on. The next thing we're going to need is the arc furnace, and this is going to unlock a lot more recipes and ultimately lead to the next chapter. And I think once we have the arc furnace, we may also look into this excavator, which can let us mine ores just passively. It does consume quite a bit of RF, but we are producing 4096, and this uses 1024. But we'll see if we have enough materials for this. First of all though, for the arc furnace we need the electrodes for it to be able to run. And to craft the electrodes we need to use the blueprint. So each electrode takes 4 HOP graphite ingots, and we need 3 of these things I believe. Luckily we do have quite a bit of coal coke backlogged. And that reminds me, we should actually probably throw some more of the coal that we just got from mining through our coke ovens. There's 5 stacks, we'll make this into blocks and that should be enough for the future at least. And to be able to pulverise our coal coke, I would like to look into the mechanism crusher, as I think that's going to be a bit more efficient than using the immersive crusher we have over here. And in fact I'm not sure if there's any long term use for this thing, but we just needed a few more basic control circuits for it. And then from there it's a pretty simple recipe for the basic crusher. This also does take the forged synacite blocks, which I found out you can actually get in the nether as part of the structures that generate there. But there is our crusher and the quest. And for now we're just going to stick it next to all of our other machines, although this will probably end up getting moved. And this we're going to use to crush down all of our coal coke. Oh, we actually can't crush it in this one. Okay. Well, we needed the crusher anyway. Let's use this loud machine instead. I guess I should have probably checked out the recipe before doing that, but that's okay. We can use it for things like nether quartz and Certus quartz dust. So once we've crushed and smelted our HOP, we can make our electrodes. No, let's just make 3 for now, since we need the HOP for many other things. And next we need the multi-block, so let's see what this takes. Oh, this actually uses our reinforced blast bricks. This is perfect. I didn't think we would have a use for these things. But other than that, it's just a bunch of other components we should already have by now. And we have many stacks of steel, and it's much quicker if we need more. There is another... oh, only 58 in here, but it should be enough to craft the arc furnace. Oh, these machines are so slow. You know what? It's looking like we may not have enough iron for this, actually. All of these engineering blocks are very expensive in terms of the iron cost. Right, these mechanical components are 2 iron each. 8 iron per engineering block. And we need 10 of the light ones. And then the heavy ones are a lot of steel. I guess this is 8 steel. So maybe instead of doing the arc furnace first, we should look into the excavator to get some more iron. This also takes many of the same components. And as far as I can see, you don't need the arc furnace to be able to make the excavator. So I think instead we're going to set up this first. Yeah, so we've got enough materials for the excavator. We are just 1 craft of steel scaffolding short. I was just waiting on some more rods, so that should be our quest. There we go, no more mining. I don't think so, but yeah, before we build this thing, we have to take some core samples. As the way this works is immersive engineering splits up the chunks into different ore chunks. So let me just actually craft one of these things first. Okay, so the core sample drill actually does take power to run, I believe. Oh, I didn't realise it gave you an outline of the chunk when you hold it. But let's start over in here and hope we get lucky with some iron, as that is what we're after. Oh, hold on, is our minecart stopped here? Yeah, I guess it looks like our minecart is stopped. We may have to address that somehow. Alright, so I have this spare capacitor that I filled with some RF. So let's place down our core sample. It would be really ideal if we could have this chunk as the iron chunk. So we just have to set the output on the opposite side. Give this some power, and then I think we just right click. Yeah, there we go. This is going to do its thing. And after a second, it should give us a core sample. Yep, so we can see here that this is cinnabar. And you can see the expected yield is 38,400 ores. So this doesn't last forever. This isn't something that will infinitely pull up ore from the ground. You will have to move it eventually. But the cinnabar is no good for us, so I'm going to take a bunch more samples from around these chunks, and hopefully there's an iron one nearby. So the second one I've taken is actually giving us nickel, but it looks like there is a bit of iron in there. I don't know if it's worth going for this vein or looking for specifically iron. I'm not sure if we're going to get equal parts nickel and iron, as the ore veins don't just give you one type of ore. It is from like 3 or 4 different types of ores. But I think we'll keep going just to try to find a specific iron vein. Ah, I think we got one here. So magnetite, I believe, is iron and gold. And the other version you can get is iron tin. But we are short gold, so this could be quite useful for us to get some gold byproduct. So let's consult our engineer's manual and look for the excavator, which looks like this. It's quite a big multi-block actually. Alright, I have a little area cleared out in our ore chunk. Let's build the excavator. Alright, so I think I've got this built. All we have to do is smack it again with the hammer. And we have our excavator. Although it looks like I may have built this the wrong way round, as that looks like the energy input right there. Well, no, I think we'll leave it because this is the output slot. And I would like to have... I made a drawer controller for this. So all the outputs are going to go into the drawer controller, and then we'll place some drawers down. And I've said this before, but man, I miss these drawers. Alright, so we have to hook up some power over here. Let's just put another relay on top of these blocks, and then we'll connect to that one over there. Probably one more relay on top of the excavator, and then we'll connect straight into the side of the machine here. Alright, so we got this all hooked up. I went and turned on our diesel generator over there. You can see it smoking in the distance. But is this thing actually working? Maybe it needs some space underneath it actually. There's no UI for this thing. Let me read the quest book. Oh, I see. There's actually a different page on this thing. So we have to build this wheel as well. And I'm assuming that slots inside this space. Alright, there we go. Now we're mining. I wonder if I can put this block back. Yeah, it looks like we can. Alright, so this is spitting out dirt right now. I assume it's just on the top layer. And I also added a HV capacitor here just as some extra buffer. Let's place the drawers back down. Yeah, now we're getting iron ingots. Or iron ore. Let's make sure to lock these drawers. And I'm curious if we get anything else out of this as well. Maybe let's just add a few more drawers just in case there is some extra output. But I think we can expect nearly 38,500 ores. So these drawers are going to have to get some upgrades on them. So the default stack size for the drawers is 32 stacks. But if we craft some of these storage upgrades, we can actually increase the amount that the drawer will hold. So up to the diamond tier increases the storage by 16 times base value. And then we can even go up to emerald as well. We might as well. And I think emerald is the maximum tier that we can use. I mean, apart from the creative, of course. So we're going to put one of these on each of the drawers. And now they'll hold 1,024 stacks of each item. And now we are getting passive iron and gold. Now we just need a way to process this. So before we were using the Tinker Smeltery, that thing over there. But now that we have access to Mekanism, we can actually do ore doubling through this. So I think if we do the enrichment chamber... Oh, there's even the Thaumcraft ore multiplication in this as well. Oh, I really enjoyed that from interactions. But that will be something we'll save for later on. But yeah, we can put this ore through the enrichment chamber, which will give us pulverized dust of the ore. And then that I think we just have to smelt. Oh, what is this? Demon Furnace. That's a very interesting looking texture. But anyways, yeah, let's build an extra enrichment chamber and smelting factory for our ores. Alright, we got the enrichment chamber and a smelter. And in fact, I think for this setup, we may actually upgrade these machines to factory variants, which will mean that we have to make an extra set of machines, so we need 2 smelters for the factory. And we'll also need to make another enrichment chamber. But I would like to get a little bit more speed on these machines, and we have the power to run this, so we may as well. Assuming we have enough resources, of course. Right, so we need more red alloy. We need more redstone. Yeah, maybe redstone will be an issue by now. So I made an extra smelter and enrichment factory. To turn these into the factory variants, we need this enriched gum. Take some of this cincinnassite from the nether, and some HOP graphite dust. So I've actually ended up making 2 smelting factories, since the enriching chamber will actually double the output on the ores. So that means that for every ore we put in, we have to smelt twice the output. And for now I'm going to move this crusher, since I cannot afford any more universal cable, since I used the last piece of redstone. So the enriching factory is going to feed into 2 smelting factories. And yeah, as you can see here on the factory variants of the machines, they have 3 slots for inputs and outputs. So I've set these machines up so that we have, once again, input from the top into the enriching factory. But in this case, we'll just throw some copper in here, since this is what we have. And we can turn the auto sort on, and that will distribute the items between the 3 slots. That then gets taken out via this servo and distributed to these 2 smelting factories. And we're going to have to make some muffling upgrades because these machines are far too loud. But those get smelted and then put in this buffer chest, which I guess we'll have to upgrade at some point. But yeah, this gives us a way to process all of our ores from the excavator. And speaking of the excavator, how many ores do we have by now? There is 51 gold and 5 stacks of iron. Wow, okay. I'm really glad I set this thing up, but it does look like we've run out of power here, so we need to find a way of somehow controlling this diesel generator. And possibly expanding out our farm or using some sort of ritual to speed it up, as I've noticed that this squeezer doesn't get enough seeds. We are full on ethanol though, which is good. We have enough aubergine and canola. It's just that the seed oil doesn't keep up with the plant oil requirements to run this biodiesel generator. But yeah, we can also look at upgrading these machines with the augments, with some speed and energy upgrades, and of course with the muffling upgrades as well. But that takes a bunch of resources that we don't have anymore, so I'm going to need to go mining once again. So I think this is a good point to wrap up this episode. We made a bunch of progress today in Mekanism. We got our first machines. We set up our first automatic farm. And I may set up something similar for these crops over here, like the stalactites and the things we used for our spells. But I'm just manually harvesting them for now. But yeah, tomorrow I'd like to go back and finish off some of these chapters, like the Nether exploration one. And maybe we'll look at the Twilight Forest as well. And we are close to Applied Energistics, but I believe we need to visit one of the other dimensions called Autumn. Or Atom, I don't know how you pronounce this. And that is this quest chapter here. So yeah, we've got all that to look forward to, but this is a good wrapping up point for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.